Well, it's good to be a good turnout. Um, if they took a picture of us all and put it up on a poster and said, this is all these people are Christians, people would think it hard to believe, the picture people have of Christians is, stiff upper lip sort of people in suits and that type of thing, but, it doesn't matter what you look like, doesn't matter where you've been. God still loves you, It's been a long, hard road for me to find that out, but gee, it's just from being someone who was so depressed and without purpose to all of a sudden just have this peace. And sometimes I just have to slap myself and think, look, wow, this is just, I've got nothing to worry about. I've never ever had that in my life since I was a little kid. That's the last time I can remember actually having peace in my life and not having problems to think about, addictions to fulfill. Anyway, I grew up, a lot of people, I've heard a lot of testimonies, and quite often they come from broken homes. People come from broken homes and places where they weren't loved as kids, but I can't say that. I grew up in a Christian home, and a loving home. My parents loved me, and I never felt that I wasn't loved. I always felt that I never remember feeling hurt or unsafe or anything when I was a kid. Dad was always there, Mum and Dad was always there to protect us from everything, and we always, even though we weren't rich, we didn't have much money, but we always had that love. We always had something, whether it was a second-hand bike or whatever, or a billy cart we made up out of ourselves. We always there's always that love between us, brothers and sisters, and all that. But as I grew up, I had a fascination for. Dad used to smoke cigarettes. And I used to have a fascination for cigarettes, and I used to collect all his butts up and in bed at night I'd stick my legs up, make a tent, and get pretending to smoke under the covers, and stuff like that. And I'd pinch, Mum used to have a brandy bottle, I used to get into that a bit. And I remember I come from a little country town where the only entertainment in the country town really are the football, cricket club and the pub. The football and cricket club were pretty liberal with their grog, and it wasn't hard to get a sip of grog and knock off a few cans here and there. Even as I remember, even in primary school, year, we call it grade in Victoria, but it would have been year 5 or something. I remember getting drunk at recess. There'd be 5 or 6 of my mates that have drinking parents, and they'd knock off a couple of bottles and take them to school. And we'd duck down there and into it and come back, and I loved it. Loved all that. I loved the feeling of it all. I loved the fact of doing something that you weren't supposed to be doing, and it just went on from that. When I was 16, I was a hardened drinker. When I was 16, I'd be getting drunk every Friday, Saturday night, and sometimes in between. And I don't remember till I was 30 something ever been sober on a weekend, and a hell of a lot of days in between, footy training 2 nights a week, and what have you, what else, And then it wasn't just the grog, it was the dope and whatever you can get your hands on, speed, magic mushrooms. We'd go off on adventures, and we just the group that I was knocking around with just didn't seem to be the same as anyone else. We did things not by half measures. If we were going to have a drink, we'd buy an 18-gallon keg between 6 of us or something, and we'd just drink until we passed out, spewed up, and fell over, and then smoked until we couldn't stand up, and there was no half measures. We'd go collect the magic mushrooms. We wouldn't make dainty cups of tea. We'd be in there grazing like 40 or 50 until then we'd just rush into the pub and see what sort of buzz we'd get, and you'd go. It was just that sort of mentality. That was, that we grew up in.
and roll, up to school you go. Don't be a bad boy, Johnny. Don't you slip up or play the fool. Oh no more, oh no more, I'll be your golden boy. I will obey every golden rule.
And it was exciting for a while, but after a while, everyone else sort of went about their lives, and we were still stuck in the same spot, still doing the same stuff. And there was something in me, you know. I'd wake up in the morning, because after a while I was losing most of the night. I couldn't remember. So half of my life I just can't remember. And then there'd be that niggling thing in the back of your head, oh, what have I done? What have I done? What happened last night? Who have I offended? What have I said? What have I done? And that was just to go on. It'd be a cycle, and I think, oh, well, we'd have a drink, and you'd be back into it again. And it was a terrible feeling. And it became, the more I did it, the older I got, the more oppressed I was. And then I'd get into deep oppressions. One night I went to a party, and a fella died. And I don't remember it. But I ended up getting accused of that bloke's murder, you know, and that hung over me for 3 years, where these people were accusing me. I couldn't defend myself, so I didn't know what happened, you know. That was a terrible feeling, you know. You can't remember what happened. And these people, what are they telling the truth? I don't think I'd do something like that, but do I know? You know, I don't know, sort of thing. You know, the hopelessness of it. Of drinking all the time. I wouldn't get out of bed sometimes until the pub was open. Just so I'd be bored otherwise, you know. I'd get that bored without something stimulant in me to keep me going. Me and a mate, I had a good mate on the mainland. We were drinking partners. We used to go off by ourselves and go up to all sorts of stuff. One night I remember we made a pact, me and him. We cut each other's thumbs. Right, we're blood brothers. We made a pact we were going to burn out before we were 30 years old. We were going to drink ourselves to death before we were 30 years old. And when that bloke went straight for a T intersection and smashed into a tree when he was 29, it sort of gave me a bit of a shock, but it wasn't enough shock, unfortunately, to bring me to my senses. After that, I moved over to Tassie about a year after that. I think most of the people around Bridport around Lake Barlock were getting pretty sick of me, I think, because I was just wallowing in it all and drinking, and Mum and Dad were scared of me. I'd come home ranting and raving and swearing in my sleep. And the publicans were sick of me because I ended up flaking it on the floor or spewing up in the ashtrays. Then I got over to Bridport and things didn't change. You know, that's where the bit where I got accused of murder and all this, and I had a series of mad affairs with these crazy women, and I was probably crazier than them really, but and it just went on and on and on. In fact, at Bridport I was just known as the drunk, you know, I was the worst drunk. Good bloke when he's sober, but he's a nutcase when he's drunk. Oh yeah, don't go near him then. He sings all the time, and I didn't used to do anything terribly violent, but I remember one day they found me. Oh, I picked you up last night, this bloke said. You were down the main street saying that I am the devil and all this sort of rubbish, you know, and that really shook me, you know. Because I was brought up to believe in God, and I did believe in God still, but I was so far away from that. You know, I broke up with this relationship I had for about 4 years with this woman. She actually took me to the church a few times, and I actually got so-called born again, but at the time I think I just smoked a joint and half a dozen ciders, but so I don't think it was a real lot behind. And certainly didn't change my ways. I was living as married, but in a de facto relationship, which it says pretty plainly in the Bible that's not going to work, you know. Anyway, I went into deep. I got kicked me out. She went crazy as well, and with depression and all sorts of things. And I was living off people's couches and shock and depression. Anyway, Pete over here sort of said, come down one weekend and take a bit of time out and come down here, and you know, it's not that bad. It was just trying to sort yourself out, and so it was good. It got me out of Bridport and out of the scene a bit, and they fed me up a nice tucker, and you know, it was a bit like I'd known Pete for over 30 years, and it was like having you know, some kind of relation, you know, like I've got no one else in Tassie, and it just gave me that time. It's that time out, you know, to think about things, and I sort of got a bit of a strategy together. There was a house out the road that I wasn't that far from work and what have you, so I thought I'll go home and do that. He sent me home with a New Testament, the Message. For those you know don't know what the Message is. It's a New Testament Bible, the story of Jesus Christ, spoken basically in street language, in the sort of talk that me and you use. I went home and read it. I think I read it 3 times right through, and it really brought some sort of relief, you know. And anyway, I saw about this house, and everything seemed to just fall in the line, you know. I had to hadn't been lived in for years, and I had to clean it all out, and I had to get an electrician. But when you're depressed, every little thing can be like a big mountain, you know, like just the fact that I had to get an electrician to go and look at the place. It wasn't as simple just to ring up the hydro to connect it. I had to go and organise it something, and it just seemed so big. And I was staying in the pub at the time, which is not a real good spot for an alcoholic to live, and I just said to the barmaid, you know any electricians? And he said, yeah, I know a couple, I'll write them down. And just as he was writing them down, out of the blue, both of them just walked straight past it. And I said, oh, there they are. They don't normally come in, but there they are. I said, oh, can you do that? Yep, be there at 7 o'clock in the morning. Bang, it's all done. I was in there, set up within a week, had power, and it was just a relief to have somewhere of me that I could be by myself, you know. Been living on people's doorsteps and putting people out, you know, and then I started, there was a few setbacks there. Like, I mean, I was still drinking heavily, and I couldn't hold down a job. I just couldn't think. I was still depressed, and I couldn't go to work. Everything was going wrong at work. I had a fellow come to stay with me. It was even worse than I was. And that didn't help things for about a year. Things were up and down, but at least I had this spot, you know, it was my house, and I ended up giving up work, so I was unemployed. And I thought, right, I got rid of this fella off my couch. He'd been there for 12 months holding me back. With help from Pete again. He was a sort of mutual friend. Pete come and saved me. Saved the day. I left a message on his answering machine that went along these lines. I said, Pete, come and get Nicky or I'm going to kill him. Basically, that was about it. And so Pete come to the rescue and found him a house to live away from me. And so from then on I started going to church at the Hilltop in Scottsdale there, which I sort of enjoyed it, but I didn't really feel a real connection with the people. They weren't really my type of people, I didn't think. And I went for a few times, and then Pete rang up again out of the blue and said, look, I'm going to the church at Winnaleah. Would you like to come down? It's sort of about halfway between where we both of us live. And I thought, that'd be good. I'll get to catch up with them. And I went there, and immediately I introduced to a couple of blokes, and I really got a connection with, you know. There was a fellow, John Shaw, who'd been an alcoholic and he'd smoked 90 cigarettes a day and all this sort of thing. and he was a muso, which I could relate to, and it just, everyone there, it just seemed right, Even though I was still going there, and as soon as church had finished, I'd just nip back out again and before I had to talk to anyone and all that. After a couple of weeks, the pastor sort of said, is there anybody who's never has never taken Jesus as his Lord and Saviour, made a commitment to God? And I thought, well, this is it. I had a prompting. Somebody said, look, get up there and do it. What do you got? There's nothing holding you back. You're living by yourself. That's all. You've got to look after yourself now. And just, it seemed the right thing to do. So I got up there and said, it's a simple prayer. It's just basically, people make a big thing about it. But all it is basically, you're saying, Lord, I believe that you are the Son of God, and you walked this earth in the flesh. You died and rose from the dead. And Lord, can you please forgive me for my sins? And that's basically it. And I take you as my Lord and Saviour. And I said it and meant it. And as soon as I said it, these stream of things just come out of my eyes. It was incredible. I thought, wow, what's happened here? I actually felt something physically happen to me. And it was like something like that, wow, what's going on here? This is actually happening, physically happening to me. And anyway, a couple of weeks sort of went by, and I was still very hurt about this woman and about things that are going on. I was unemployed and everything was a problem. And one day I was just out in the front yard and playing around, humming around, a bit of a jig, what's going on? All of a sudden I stopped and went, wow, what's going on here? What's going on? And I felt this smile go to my face. And all of a sudden I felt, wow, I don't feel hurt anymore. I feel as if there's something's being lifted off me. It was just it'd probably been coming on for the last couple of days, but all of a sudden I just, wow, this is all right. Maybe there is a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel, There was just something happened that day, and I remember laughing to myself and thinking, whoa, this is different, and this is encouraging. So I kept on going to church, and then slowly I started to stop afterwards for a cup of coffee, and got to know the people a bit better, but I was still having a joint before I went to the church and all sorts of things. I had one for the trip. And a couple of beers in the pub after I finished, but I was still smoking dope pretty heavy, and all of a sudden it just stopped working on me. The dope wasn't getting me stoned. All it was doing was making me chest. I just couldn't breathe. It was getting worse and worse. All it was doing was make me eat twice as much as I should, and that's basically about it. Make me cough my head off. And so it got really bad, and I was smoking. I've been smoking since I was 4 years old, pinching down cigarettes and all that. So I've been smoking White Ox for a long time, and heaps of joints. I'd go to work, have one before I got up, have one through the night usually. Get up, have one for breakfast, roll at least 3 for the day at work, and I thought I just wouldn't feel like going to work otherwise. I'd find it that boring. I couldn't even talk to people without a joint me. And anyway, I had enough. I just said, Lord, I've had enough. Just take this addiction from marijuana away. Next morning, I didn't feel like a joint. The next day, when I got back from work, because I thought that's when it'll happen, get back, and I used to be by yourself, and it was like a crutch. You'd sort of have a take on while you watch the telly or something. And no, I didn't feel it at all. But I felt this real peace come into me instead. It was like something had been lifted off me, but also something put back in there. Something that was a bit better than marijuana. Didn't make you feel like eating all half the cupboard. And about a week later, I was just, I told Pete about it and everything. I knew that it wasn't from my own doing that this happened. And a week later, exactly to the day, a little voice, it wasn't an audible voice, but was a knowing. It wasn't from me. It said, how about the tobacco as well? And that's something I would never, ever thought, because I used to love cigarettes. I'd never, ever tried to give up. And anyway, just as they said it, I said, oh, all right. It was as simple as that. So that morning, if I left these cigarettes behind, I'd have a nervous breakdown. I'd have to go back and get them, you know. Heart palpitations. But I didn't need them that day, and I went all week. I didn't get any cravings whatsoever. No cravings. You know, they say it's the most addictive thing in the world, but I tell you what, I had no withdrawals. I didn't want to have them. I knew there was nothing about the hand. They say that all this business, but none of that. Exactly a week later, I had this urge to go to the pub, and I thought, wow, I better watch myself here. That can't be from God. I didn't think about it being the same day as ordering that, but anyway, I went into town. I had to go in there anyway, and I thought, look, I'll just stop at a friend's place just first and sort of think about it, so it might go away, this feeling. And anyway, it didn't. And I went to another place, it still didn't go away, so I thought, right, I'll go to the pub. Went there, went up the bar, had light, stubby, I think. I thought I'll buy a light. Because at that stage I'd already just done my licence for drink driving. I'd run the car off the road 3 times in the last 3 months. And I was deferring it. And I was I deferred it for nearly a year, I think. But, so I thought, I'll just have a light, I don't want to go blowing the bag again. And as I went to the bar, grabbed me a stubby, I went back. The fireplace is here, I sort of leapt back on there. There was a group over to my right, a left over there, and a group over the right, there was girls over here. And I was just sort of listening to what they were saying, and it was just all filth was coming out of their mouth. They were just speaking about men's genitalia and yeah, this and that, and I do this and that. It just really made me sick. I almost vomited. I looked over on the other side, there was all the boat builders and metal workers and that over there in the corner. They were laughing. You know what? Mr. Squiggle used to have the old build a steam shovel. And all the smoke would come out of his mouth, you know. Well, it was just like that. You could see the smoke coming off their cigarettes, and I looked at these people and I thought, wow, they're dead. These people, it was as if I could see inside their chest, they had black hearts. It was like they were scorched. And they were dead. I got out of there, and I've never been back since. I've never had a drop of alcohol since. And no withdrawals whatsoever. That night, such a peace come into me that I just can't describe it, you know. And there's been a smile on my face ever since. That was 12 months ago, so I don't think it doesn't look like it's going to leave. Look, it's real, mate. It's real. It really is. The love of God is the most powerful thing in anyone's life, and I just encourage you, anyone, if they haven't taken Jesus Christ as their Lord and Saviour, it's not a big deal. It's not a contract that you're locked into or anything like that. You're not bound to a church or anything like that. It's just something between you and God, and it works. All these people here today, a lot of them know that in their hearts as well, and it's just people worldwide know all about it. It's just, we see so much rubbish on TV, and people think it's true, but it's just, you know, televisions and papers are all owned by money men, you know, they're not from God. So, anyway, that's about it.
Good on you, mate. Great to have that peace.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, good on you, mate. Thanks for sharing.